You 50K to bet right now, Khamzat versus Strickland. Who you betting?
Khamzat. I think Sean Strickland is a better wrestler than DDP, and he got the best gas tank I ever seen. I would be rooting for Strickland in this fight, but I just think that Khamzat is relentless on his wrestling. Since he came down to train with Armin, I think they changed that cardio and stuff now. If he looks in a way like he looked his last fight, I think he's going to improve on that. He's going to take Strickland to deep water and ground and pound out another victory. So if I'm betting, I would put my money on Khamzat.
I saw you and Sean had an interaction in the gym.
Understand, you're better than most, you're better than everybody, so just don't hurt people.
He didn't like when I said I tap him out, you know.
Did you tap him out?
Yeah, many times, bro. Ask his coach.
What did you get him with?
Chokes, different things.
Strickland will probably get fucked by Khamzat. He called him a terrorist. Can't wait for his Khamzat versus Strickland. How good did he look against Fluff? Strickland's gonna get taken down, but he's so well versed on getting up in his cardio. Third, fourth, and fifth round, if he keeps getting up, defend the submissions, that's when it gets interesting.
He's so hard to hit. He does so many sneaky things on the feet.
No way Khamzat's gonna stand with him. He's gonna try to take him down. No.
Khamzat can strike too, though. Did you see the video of Khamzat striking with Khalil?
No way
from
he's
the
gonna
locker
stand
room?
with him.
Here's why he can try to stand with Strickland, because he's not a knockout artist.
Miller dropped him.
And I'll be the first to say I flip-flopped. When I looked at the UFC and when I looked at them needing a bit of a jolt, them needing some excitement, you just can't compare. Now, I'll be 1,000% honest. If we're going off of merit, and yes, I know that Strickland beat Imavov a few years ago at 205, and it was a short notice fight for Sean Strickland. If we're going off of merit since then, Imavov has the better resume. Strickland has had multiple opportunities to fight for the belt. He was, of course, champion. He had an opportunity to win the belt back last February. Now he's getting another chance. He's pretty much had a title fight, non-title fight, title fight, non-title fight. He's lost the title fights. He's won the in-betweeners to get back into the picture. If we're going off of merit, it's Imavov. The bigger fight times a...
This clip absolutely captures the UFC's core strategy behind pairing Chimaev with Strickland, and it has nothing to do with traditional rankings or who technically earned their spot. Here's what's really happening. The UFC operates as pure entertainment first, constantly searching for that electric energy that gets audiences buzzing. Trash talk isn't some unfortunate byproduct they tolerate, it's exactly what they're hunting for. They want fighters who can sell fights with their mouths as effectively as their skills. This is why someone like Strickland, who's a complete wizard with psychological warfare, lands these premium opportunities. Sure, other fighters might have better records on paper, but can they create must-see television? Can they turn social media into a battlefield? Maybe two fighters in the entire organization can match what Strickland brings to a microphone. The mental combat between these two isn't just preliminary entertainment, it's strategic warfare that elevates what could be another ordinary bout into an unmissable spectacle that fans absolutely must witness. From the initial press conference stare-downs through the final bell, audiences will be completely riveted. The UFC's decision to match these personalities is pure genius from an entertainment business perspective.
It's going to be absolutely insane. You've got one guy who's completely like unhinged and unfiltered, who doesn't shy away from saying anything, as non-PC as it may be, against another guy who may not be unhinged and unfiltered as far as like the gift of gab is concerned, but certainly we know like doesn't mind getting into it. And this guy's saying a lot of personal things about this guy, and this guy has a short fuse. It's going to be absolute bananas. I think that from a blockbuster, needing viewership, trying to get people excited.
Here's where the real explosive potential sits, ready to detonate completely. Consider this combination. You have Strickland, who's absolutely unfiltered and chaotic, like he has zero internal censorship telling him to hold back anything. The man verbalizes whatever crosses his mind, regardless of how outrageous or inflammatory it might be. Then there's Chimaev, famous throughout MMA for his incredibly volatile temper, someone who absolutely despises any form of disrespect, and everyone recognizes this weakness. Combining these two temperaments doesn't create typical fight promotion. You're constructing a genuine explosive device that's guaranteed to detonate spectacularly. This transcends normal pre-fight chatter where competitors exchange a few prepared insults before making peace afterward. This represents a core collision between two radically different personalities that's been deliberately engineered to produce maximum entertainment, both verbally during promotion and physically during competition. UFC leadership comprehends this chemistry completely, understanding that these personality explosions generate enormous viewership statistics. The verbal warfare isn't some unfortunate glitch they wish would disappear, it's literally the primary selling point of this blockbuster confrontation. Envision those press conferences when they're seated together, imagine those weigh-ins when they're face to face. It's going to be complete pandemonium, the kind of genuine, unscriptable chaos that draws millions of viewers to every single moment of this promotional campaign.
The fights that fans want to see, this is the fight that fans want to see more. They want to see Sean Strickland rile up Khamzat Chimaev. They want to see if he can get into his head. They want to see if he can survive the wrestling attack. And then some other people want to see Khamzat Chimaev maul Sean Strickland. And so this is serving every person's interest. On merit, Nasruddin Imavov is the one who should be fighting for the title. But when is the last time the UFC applied merit to any of these title opportunities, right? Yeah. Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy are fighting this.
This clip reveals something crucial about what audiences truly crave from this confrontation, extending far beyond watching two elite athletes compete inside the octagon. Fans aren't simply tuning in to see who claims victory in the actual fight. They're absolutely fascinated by watching Strickland attempt to penetrate Chimaev's mental armor and potentially crack that intimidating facade before any physical contact occurs. This centers on psychological combat, the mental warfare unfolding during weeks and days preceding the actual confrontation, and the entertainment value from Strickland's distinctive provocation style remains unmatched in today's sport. He possesses this remarkable talent for identifying precisely what irritates someone and attacking it mercilessly. This entire dynamic perfectly demonstrates how essential these promotional narratives and personality conflicts have become in modern UFC culture. We're experiencing an era where fight buildup, including press conferences, embedded episodes, and social media battles, can frequently be equally compelling and entertaining as the actual minutes they spend competing in the cage, sometimes surpassing it. Audiences have cultivated this appetite for genuine drama, authentic emotion, and conflict. Not merely athletic competition, they demand real animosity, legitimate tension, authentic rivalry between fighters, and regarding delivering that kind of entertainment, these two deliver massively. The excitement surrounding their verbal confrontations generates equal buzz as speculation about actual fighting strategies.
One of the things that the UFC is doing wrong, in my opinion, at this moment is they are not making it clear who contenders are. They are not making it clear who is going to be the #1 contender, which eliminates stakes, right? If you go into that fight and say Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez, the winner of this is fighting Khamzat Chimaev. No questions asked, the winner is fighting Khamzat Chimaev. That makes the stakes of that elevated. It makes you care more about the fight. If they went in and said Lerone Murphy versus Movsar Evloev is a #1 contender fight, then the winner of this fight is going to be fighting Alexander Volkanovski, you care more, right?
The UFC deliberately avoids establishing definitive contender hierarchies, maintaining strategic flexibility to execute moves exactly like this, allowing Sean Strickland to fill title eliminator spots instead of selecting someone like Imavov, who possesses stronger credentials technically. This perfectly explains why the UFC preserves intentional ambiguity around rankings and contender positions. It's not accidental or inadequate planning, it's completely deliberate strategy. By maintaining those contender spots somewhat flexible and unofficial, the UFC retains absolute authority to substitute high-profile, outspoken personalities like Strickland whenever advantageous, even when other fighters might objectively possess stronger claims based purely on recent performances and victory streaks. This systematic flexibility directly enables the kind of dramatic, verbally intensive matchups that attract absolutely massive arena crowds and propel pay-per-view sales through stratospheric levels. It's completely calculated business maneuvering, designed to maximize engagement across every platform, social media, traditional sports coverage, betting markets, everything. The Chima vs. Strickland bout represents a prime example, perhaps the perfect demonstration of this promotional methodology in action. Rather than being restricted to merit-based matchmaking that might produce the most equitable fight but boring promotional buildup, they can pivot toward money fights that have fans debating and arguing and purchasing pay-per-views regardless of who technically deserves opportunities. It's brilliant business strategy, even when frustrating purists who want everything determined purely by recent fight outcomes.
But it is also lessening the clarity, right? It is lessening why these things happen. And if you're going to live in that world and you're going to provide that, fog and that smoke screen, then it doesn't matter if Nasruddin Imavov gets screwed if you're the UFC. You want the ability to screw Nasruddin Imavov so that you can slide Sean Strickland in. And so I don't think there's anybody out there should be under the illusion that the UFC is a meritocracy anymore, that there is anything based on merit. And it's unfortunate for Nasruddin Imavov, but as a fan, if you want to see the fight that you're claiming you want to see, they have given it to you. They are giving you the one that I think more fans are.
This candid acknowledgement about the UFC's fundamentally non-meritocratic methodology directly confirms why the verbal warfare between Chimaev and Strickland remains so critical to this entire matchup. When properly analyzed, fans want to witness this fight not because of championship implications or because it makes perfect sense from rankings perspective, but because of the personalities involved and the absolutely guaranteed verbal confrontations we're going to experience. The UFC isn't simply selling fights anymore. They're selling narratives, compelling storylines, heated rivalries, and larger-than-life characters. This analyst segment confirms something that's been obvious to close observers recently: the entertainment factor, heavily influenced by the trash talk capabilities of fighters like Strickland, now determines who receives major championship opportunities. It's a fundamental transformation in the promotion's philosophy that spotlights compelling personalities who can generate buzz and controversy with their verbal skills, not just their fighting abilities. If you're a talented fighter who's quiet and respectful and prefers letting performances speak for themselves, that's admirable, but you're going to face much greater difficulty securing these marquee opportunities compared to someone who can electrify press conferences and create viral moments. The game has evolved, and verbal sparring is now essential skill for career advancement in the UFC.
See people up in arms about this anymore. We know what this is now. What generates the most interest? What is available?
Very few people actually, right? Which was a little bit.
We've been beaten into submission.
Yeah.
We know that this isn't a meritocracy anymore, and that's fine.
But why are you surprised? I really am asking this question genuinely.
I'm not surprised. I just said I'm not surprised.
Okay, because Sean Strickland is way more popular than Nasruddin Imavov.
Yeah,
just like
that's
en
the
masse,
bottom line.
on a whole.
Bro, all the talking he did.
This analysis strikes the target with absolute precision. Sean Strickland's enormous popularity, significantly driven by his outspoken character and complete willingness to engage in verbal warfare on any subject at any moment, provides the fundamental explanation for why this fight was created instead of alternative options. It's direct acknowledgement from industry insiders that the UFC functions as show business first, traditional sports second. Within that entertainment framework, Strickland is an absolute master performer even when that means abandoning strict meritocracy principles that traditional sports fans might prefer. His ability to generate interest through words alone, to ignite controversy that mainstream media outlets cover, to psychologically disturb opponents during promotion and provoke emotional reactions. All of this makes him an irresistible selection for high-stakes competition against formidable opponents like Chime. UFC matchmakers aren't debating who has the strongest resume, they're asking who can sell the most tickets, who can drive the most pay-per-view purchases, who can get people discussing on social media for weeks before the fight occurs. When you frame the question that way, Strickland will always be at the top of consideration. His controversial statements, his willingness to say things other fighters won't, his unpredictable nature, it all converts directly into marketing gold for the promotion.
A month ago or so, he started tweeting about fighting Sean Strickland. At that moment, I knew he had no title opportunity. When he put that out, that told me that he had no contact with the UFC. The UFC hasn't told him that he's gotten a title shot and that they're waiting to see if Sean Strickland wins. The moment he called out Sean Strickland instead of Khamzat, I knew exactly what was about to happen.
He tweeted on March 13th, which was Friday, so clearly in response to this, to those who support it's coming, the others it's coming too. So that's it.
You fight. What do you do if you're him? You fight.
You fight.
This clip demonstrates the ripple effect that the Chimpwave Strickland buzz creates throughout the entire division, even legitimately deserving contenders like Imavov, who can sense he's been overlooked despite assembling solid winning streaks, ends up resorting to engaging with Strickland verbally on social media platforms like Twitter. And here's what's fascinating about that: rather than calling out the actual champion or pursuing other top contenders in the division, he's targeting Strickland. It highlights how Strickland's persona is so powerful that it literally draws other fighters into his sphere, whether they want involvement or not, forcing them to adopt similar approaches of verbal confrontation just to gain attention and maintain relevance in conversations. This indirectly contributes to the overall narrative of a middleweight division that's now heavily influenced by verbal combat and personality clashes, where winning fights alone isn't sufficient to guarantee your next opportunity. Even the periphery of this entire situation provides fertile ground for trash talk and callouts, with fighters who aren't even directly involved in the main matchup, attempting to insert themselves into the storyline through social media warfare. It's a fascinating dynamic that shows how one fighter's approach to self-promotion can transform the behavior of an entire division.
Overall, by the way, guys, like the slew of announcements, like obviously the biggest one was Khamzat versus Sean. Like that's a menu of UFC fights in 2026, right? GC, your reaction when you saw these Did you have the memes popping? Were you excited? Like, what were you feeling?
The main event for UFC 328 is the one that I was looking forward to most. It's nice to hear Bilal Muhammad's back, fighting an up-and-coming contender in Bonfim, but he's at the Apex. This time last year, he was the champion of the world, and now he's fighting contenders at the Apex. A lot of these I feel like we knew about. The Dariush Salkild is exciting. Salkild continues to get opportunity.
This clip emphasizes something significant. Despite the UFC releasing multiple fight announcements simultaneously, the Chima versus Strickland bout emerged as the biggest one immediately, the one that got everyone talking instantly, and this is no coincidence or random occurrence. It demonstrates the immense drawing power of their individual personalities and the anticipated verbal explosions that everyone knows are approaching. The excitement generated by this pairing overshadows other completely legitimate matchups that make sense from competitive standpoints, establishing its status as unmissable entertainment, primarily due to the collision of two volatile personalities and the inevitable trash talk that's going to dominate the entire promotion. This fight is already a main event in people's consciousness, proving that charisma and controversy often triumph over pure athletic merit in modern MMA. You can have the most technically sound, strategically logical fight possible, but if it doesn't have personalities that captivate audiences, it's not going to generate the same level of interest as something like this, where drama is absolutely guaranteed.
With Brendan Fitzgerald and our man DJ Mikey B, and I have to say, I'll give ourselves an old Barry H here. It wasn't IG Live. It was a nice produced segment, clearly a pre-tape because they made the announcement earlier, but who gives a crap? In the studio, sitting down, being directed, being helped out. Old Dana doesn't need this type of help, but hey, we'll take it. It felt like he cared. It felt like it mattered.
This clip shows the deliberate production value and careful planning behind how the UFC announces their fights, signaling their intent to elevate certain matchups above others regarding importance and presentation. The fact that Dana White participated in a professionally produced video segment rather than casually announcing it on Instagram Live or Twitter underscores the significance that the promotion assigns to fights like Chime versus Strickland. It implies that these aren't arbitrary pairings thrown together to fill card space, they're carefully crafted events designed to feel important, prestigious, and unmissable. With trash talk undoubtedly serving as a key ingredient in that formula for generating maximum hype, it's all about perception management and making these high-stakes clashes feel like grand historic occasions that fans will regret missing. The production quality of the announcement itself is part of the marketing strategy, telling fans this is a big deal, pay attention to this one. When they roll out professional graphics and get Dana on camera for proper segments, they're signaling that this fight matters more than your average matchup.
New era Paramount Plus, it's a no-brainer, but I do feel like I have to be consistent in saying from a merit standpoint, Imavov should have gotten it. Rick, what do you think? Did they get this one right?
Yeah, they absolutely got it right. When we talked about it at that time that you were talking about, I was very definitive in saying you should give this opportunity to Sean Strickland. Like, if your business is to make the fights that fans want to see, this is the fight that fans want to see more. They want to see Sean Strickland rile up Khamzat Chimaev. They want to see if he can get into his head. They want to see if he can survive the wrestling attack.
This clip solidifies the entire argument that the Chimaev-Strickland fight was an absolute no-brainer decision for the UFC from a business perspective, despite whatever meritocratic arguments people might make to the contrary. The hosts explicitly state that fans genuinely want to see Sean Strickland completely rile up Chimaev and get into his head psychologically, and that's not speculation, that's factual analysis of what drives fan interest. This is direct confirmation that the potential for trash talk and psychological warfare is a primary driver of fan interest in this matchup, making the fight a strategic success for the promotion even before a single punch has been thrown in the actual bout. It highlights the fundamental shift in priorities in UFC matchmaking, where entertainment value largely generated by verbal sparring and personality conflicts now takes clear precedence over traditional merit-based rankings. This is the new reality of how the sport operates at the highest level.
Even today, who said it? Was it Volkanovski might have said it on his video blog. Like, even now, 5 days out from Murphy versus Ivlev, have they even said that that might be the easiest number one contender fight of all time?
Featherweight banger.
Yeah,
that's what we're.
But sure, they can just say it and then fucking not say it on Monday.
Well, I mean, Dana has said that too. Dana's done that.
Yeah, exactly. Just fucking do it. Just say, yeah.
Armin and Hooker fighting for the belt. Yep. Brady and Morales fighting for the belt.
So just
Yep.
do it again.
Yeah.
Fucking give it to us. You know what I mean?
We like these things. Number one
I know, but they
fight.
don't mean anything. Yeah, it's to your point. Like, they just don't mean anything.
This clip underscores the broader systemic issue of the UFC's inconsistent and often arbitrary approach to number one contender fights, reinforcing the idea that merit consistently takes a backseat to marketability and promotional value. This lack of clarity and consistency on contender status creates the perfect environment for personality-driven matchups like Chimo Vu versus Strickland to get made regardless of where people actually sit in the rankings. When a number one contender fight doesn't really mean anything definitive, when it doesn't guarantee you the next title shot, it opens the door wide open for charismatic trash-talking fighters like Strickland to leapfrog others who might have better records or more impressive recent wins. It proves that verbal sparring ability and promotional skills can be more impactful for your career than having a spotless record or beating a string of top 10 opponents. It's a frustrating reality for fighters who focus purely on the competitive aspect, and for fans who want to see the sport operate more like boxing or other traditional sports with clear contender systems. But it's an undeniable force in shaping today's UFC landscape and determining who gets the biggest opportunities.
I've been reluctantly forced to accept that this UFC doesn't run like a sport anymore. Like, you guys are making the point. Look, Strickland had the best performance of his life, maybe.
Yeah.
To get this title fight.
I
Honestly,
agree.
like that's something else that needs to. It's not just that he's winning the way he did. That deserves credit. Imavov, like I honestly I didn't even see people up in arms about this anymore. We know what this is now. What generates the most interest? What is available?
Very few people actually.
This clip highlights the reluctant acceptance among hardcore fans and analysts that the UFC operates less like a traditional sport with consistent rules and meritocracy, and more like pure entertainment spectacle, where star power trumps everything else, a direct consequence of the promotion prioritizing fights like Chinye versus Strickland over more deserving matchups. It's recognition that Strickland's best performance and biggest value to the company isn't just about his technical fighting skills or his win-loss record, but rather his entire package as an entertainer, including his outspoken personality and his constant readiness for verbal warfare with anyone and everyone. This fundamental shift in how the sport operates means that raw athletic merit increasingly takes a back seat to the ability to generate buzz, create viral moments, and get people talking, which Strickland masterfully achieves through his prolific trash talk and controversial statements. It's simply the reality of modern combat sports promotion, where being a draw matters more than being the best fighter.
He announced a slew of fights. I'll go through the lineup and then we'll focus on one in particular. Here's the lineup. Take me through it here, Andy. Here we go. The big one was Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland. That's the main event for UFC 328, Newark, New Jersey, May 9th, middleweight title fight. We're going to come back to this one, but the rest of the fights that he announced a whole bunch of them. Aljamain Sterling against Yusuf Zalal, main event, April 25th. At the Meta Apex. Very important fight.
This segment from the analysts, while listing numerous other fights that got announced simultaneously, immediately positions Chimaev versus Strickland as the big one, the main attraction that they'll definitely return to for deeper analysis. This initial emphasis, even amidst a whole collection of legitimate fights getting made, implicitly highlights the significant drawing power and fan interest generated by these two specific personalities. It's a subtle but important acknowledgement to the fact that some fights just hit different in terms of cultural impact and buzz, often specifically because of the anticipation of dramatic verbal exchanges and the clash of personas, which is exactly what everyone expects from Chimaev versus Strickland based on their track records. The UFC and media members carefully orchestrate these announcements and the subsequent coverage to build maximum anticipation for the most engaging matchups from an entertainment perspective, regardless of whether they're the most deserving from a pure sporting merit standpoint.